I keep hesitating, life it kept going wrong, kept going wrong. Stuck inside this cage I made for way too long, for way too long.
Hello, my friend Alex here from Audio Edges, and today we're going to be showing you how to do some really cool trap background vocal layers, kind of in that style of Juice WRLD that's really popular right now. I'm going to show you one specific effect in particular that I think sounds really cool and that I hope you can start implementing into your music right away. So without further ado, let's dive into the DAW and get started getting to work. All right, my friend, here we are. We are inside this session. I just made a little beat here using a couple loops and made an 808 part. It sounds like this. Let's get to the top. All right, so that's the general vibe, and I have a vocal here. Now, this tutorial, it's not about processing vocals, so I'm not going to talk about like vocal mixing or vocal processing, but basically the idea here is we have a lead vocal. It sounds like this.
I keep hesitating, life it kept going wrong, kept going wrong.
All right, and so it's just a little bit of processing. This vocal sample was already, pretty processed, so I just added a couple things. Got some reverbs here, reverb 1, reverb 2, short, long, and a big space that I'm setting this to just to, get that vibe going. Here's what that sounds like with the rest of the beat, and then we'll talk about this cool layer effect that we're going to add. So here's the vibe.
I keep hesitating, life it kept going wrong, kept going wrong. Stuck inside this cage I made for way too long, for way too long.
All right, and here is what we're going to add. It sounds like this.
Going wrong, kept going wrong.
All right, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that in a moment. Let's listen to these vocals together so you can get the vibe.
I keep hesitating, life it kept going wrong, kept going wrong.
All right, so we're going to do that for all these vocals so you can hear it again here.
For way too long, for way too long.
Okay, and so essentially what's going on is what I've done is copied this lead vocal track. Let me actually get a brand new example here just to show you what I've done. Copied this vocal track down, okay, onto here. And you'll see these edits. So what I've done is actually made it kind of a call and response to itself. So I'm gonna make sure that I'm on the grid here while I do this, and I'm gonna just bump this over to here. So see what's happening. We have the lead vocal and this response.
I keep hesitating, life it kept going wrong, kept going wrong.
Let me just unsolo those layers there so you just hear what we just did.
I keep hesitating, life it kept going wrong, kept going wrong.
So obviously doing that whole line like that is going to be too much. Let's listen to this.
Stuck inside this cage, for way too long, for way too long, for way too long.
All right, so all I've done is gone in, picked the phrase that I want to have call and response. Okay, so I think we're going to go with the kind of this area here, maybe this line. Let's just hear that.
Going wrong.
Okay, and so I'm just going to mute this part of the vocal up until there. So I'm going to cut it, mute it. You can do this these concepts go across all DAWs. So if you're not in Pro Tools, just literally grab part of it, mute it, add a little fade, and you can hear what's happening here.
Wrong, going wrong, kept going wrong.
And you can see that actually this is nudged too far, so I'm going to bring it back a little bit here.
Wrong, going wrong, kept going wrong, kept going wrong.
There we go. So that's feeling better. Now, what we're going to do next is kind of go in and do this same type of thing for all of these, okay? I'm going to make sure that it's on the grid.
For way too long. Cage for way too long, for way too long, for way too long.
Okay, so we're going to cut these and just choose the parts that we want. You could even delete this if you're sure that you want it gone. But, I might grab something from those parts, so we don't need to worry about that. I'm just going to leave this part in, this kind of call and response, okay? So that's the idea, and that's essentially what's happened on this layer track, okay? So I'm just going to hide this for now so we can go back here so you understand what's happening. We're just grabbing this vocal, copying it over, having it respond, okay? And now you'll hear some interesting effects, and that's what gives us this, popular background kind of moving, kind of you know, warped and formatted effect. So we're going to dive into these settings here. This is our lead vocal track, and this is that layer that we've created with a few different scents. So first, I'll just show you exactly what's happening in terms of this layer. I've copied over the same dry track, and then just starting out, let me bring this plugin into view. I just had some plugins that were left on from a template I had, and honestly, these sounded fine for what we were doing. And I just wanted to squish it a bit and compress it a little more. So basically, if anything, yeah, see here, I'm compressing it quite a bit. So let's have a listen.
Going wrong, kept going wrong.
I'm literally just really squishing that and compressing it. Here we're adding some multi-band compression to it as well.
Going wrong, kept going wrong.
So honestly, we're just squishing, crushing that. You could do that however you would like, okay? Now what I've done is kind of, you know, taken off a little bit of the highs and a little bit of the lows. So let's hear what that sounds like.
Going wrong, kept going wrong.
So those low fundamental frequencies, I'm just going to cut those out for this effect.
Going wrong, kept going wrong.
Let's go here.
For way too long, for way too long.
And essentially what that's going to do is keep our lead vocal centered as the main vocal. It's grounded with its bass. Like it's in the middle. It has the meat to it. And this is more of a moving kind of ethereal effect.
Going wrong, kept going wrong.
I'm actually going to take even more of those highs off. Whoops. Let me switch to slip mode.
For way too long, for way too long.
Okay, so you can do this however you'd like. And then I'm just distorting it and getting some, or maybe saturation rather than distortion, just a good amount of tape saturation in that mid area.
Going wrong, kept going wrong.
You can see I'm distorting it quite a bit, or saturating it rather.
For way too long, for way too long.
Okay, so that's kind of the sound we're going for. And now, here's how you get this really interesting effect on this track. What we're going to do is open up Little Ultra Boy. Now, you can open up any plugin that can do this type of thing. There's all sorts of ones out there now. This one was really popular for a long time, and so it's familiar. This is the Formant, and this is what a Formant Shifting sounds like.
Going wrong.
Okay, so that probably sounds really familiar, and that's all I'm doing is moving the Formant around. All we did for this track is automate this. I automated this Formant knob. So in your DAW, whichever DAW you're in, you're going to, in Pro Tools, it's Control Option Command, and then you're going to click Enable Automation. I already enabled it, so now it's giving me the Disable option. I'm going to leave that enabled as it is, okay? And now what I can do is go in here and automate the Formant. You see? So all DAWs will have a way to do this, and you can kind of figure it out for your DAW. But what's most important to get from this video is the concept, okay? And so what you can see here is that I've really just screwed around with the Formant a bunch. So have a listen now with this plugin on.
Going wrong, kept going wrong.
I'm not going really, really aggressive with it, just kind of little movements.
For way too long, for way too long.
Do you hear that?
For directions going the way.
All right, so I'm going to delete this and we'll do it together, okay? So I'm going to go into touch mode so that I can actually do this on the plugin, which just makes it a little easier for me than, you know, drawing it in like this, which I've definitely done that before too when I want to be really, really precise. You know, you can draw stuff in like that just as an example, but I'm going to go into touch mode. And what I can do in touch mode of Pro Tools, and a lot of DAWs will have, you know, some variation of touch mode, and I can just grab this knob as the song's playing and burn in the part, if that makes sense. So let's have a listen, and I'll go ahead and do this.
Going wrong, kept going wrong.
All right, you see that? Let's do it again here.
For way too long, for way too long.
Let's do it one more time here, coming up.
For directions going the way.
Did you see how I went up there a little bit? Sounded cool. Listen.
For directions going the way.
All right, and one last one right here.
Collapsing, will lose my faith.
All right, so just doing some really interesting movements. We're not going too crazy. I'm kind of staying in this this kind of range here. I'm never going like, you know, the full -12 down. I'm just kind of staying in this close range, and it's more just to morph that vocal around. Now you can do this over and over until you get it exactly the way you want, but just for the sake of this video, this is honestly going to be fine what we just did for the sake of this video. Okay, so now I'm going to switch this back to read so that if I ever touch this plugin again, it's not going to start writing something in and overwrite some of the work we did. Okay, so now here's where we're at. Let me actually play it with the track so you guys can hear this.
You kept going wrong, kept going wrong. Stuck in.
All right.
Forward too long.
All right. Lots of fun. Now we're going to pull up another magic plugin. This one's called Pan Man. And all this is doing is panning this thing around for us. If you don't have Pan Man or any type of panning plugin, don't worry, you can always go in and draw in the panning, but it's actually not necessary when you can just use a plugin like this. I've set the rate kind of around here, kind of around 0.25, you know, and this is just going to speed up the amount of panning. You see that? So I'm keeping it pretty slow because I'll just let you hear what this is doing. Have a listen. So that's a fast rate. That's a little bit too fast right now. All right, let's go here. So all I really want to do is just have it moving from left to right a little bit. All right, and so the smoothing on this plugin just determines how hard it bounces off the sides. So here's hard. It's like an instant pop over from left to right. I don't want that, so I'm going to set it to soft so it moves really gradually between. And then I can just set how wide I want it. I felt that all the way left, all the way right was a little too distracting. Distracts you too much from the main vocal. So keep the width dialed in a little bit like this. You know, not too much, but still moving left and right. And that's all we're doing with Pan Man. So let's listen now to what we've got.
Kept going wrong. Stuck inside this cage I made. Forward too long, forward too long. Now I'm staring at the starlight, waiting for directions, got in the way.
All right, so you can go ahead, tweak these how you like. Next thing I'm doing is I'm throwing a delay right on the track. Typically, I'd recommend sending to a delay, but in this case, we're kind of creating this crazy mayhem all on its own track. And, you know, that's fine in this case. So these are the settings that I dialed in. It looks like I grabbed some type of preset and tweaked it. And I'm going mostly dry and just blending it in a little bit wet. Now, once again, you could do this on a send, but I really wanted to, you know, mess this vocal up on its own track. So I'm just doing it here.
Going wrong, kept going wrong.
Have a listen. Do you hear that? So it's a ping pong delay, ping ponging while it's panning around. And I, you know, did all sorts of, I left some of the, you know, the color of this plugin. I put the lo-fi button on. We've got the analog turned on, and it looks like I'm just low passing little, like just shaving off some of the highs here. Could actually dial it in even more like this, create a little band for this. And this is, remember, for the delay. So if I go dry, you're not going to hear this. But if I dial it in here. Do you hear how just the delay is getting filtered? I mean, this track is already filtered from this EQ we put on the whole track, but just filtering that delay around a little bit. Could leave it a little more open. Then we just dial it in a little bit wet. Okay. All right, so that's kind of the next step. And now we're going to do something even more crazy to finish this off. We're going to send it to a reverse reverb. And I sent it quite a lot. And all I'm using is this Revibe plugin. And I just grabbed the inverse long preset. This is what it looks like if you want to grab these settings or whatever you'd like. It's all the way on wet because I'm blending it in using the send. And I'm not just blending it in, I'm really blending it in. Like you can see, I cranked it up even past unity gain here. I think I just wanted to get a lot of juice out of this plugin. So let's have a listen to how that sounds with that reverse reverb. Do you hear that like weird reversing sound it's giving it? All right, so let's, we'll dial that in. You can dial it in here or here. Typically, I'll leave the aux track at 0, and then I'll dial it in with the actual send. But in this case, I really wanted to crank this up because I just wanted a lot of that sound, it looks like. So let's hear it all together now. I can adjust these settings a little.
I keep hesitating, life it kept going wrong, kept going wrong. Stuck inside this cage I made for way too long, for way too long.
I'm actually gonna go in here on this reverb. It looks like I have done kind of a high pass, low pass, creating a band for the reverb.
I'm staring at the starlight, waiting for directions, got in the way.
All right, so that's going to be cool. We're just adding even more kind of trippiness to this. And then I'm sending it to this big space I have over here called the Vocal Galaxy. And that's just a super long and, a super long rhythm echo reverb type of effect out of Echo Boy over here. So it sounds like this when we dial it in.
And this life it keep on crashing and I keep collapsing.
Do you hear that long reverb tail on all of this? That's what's happening here. All right, if I mute it, there's still reverb there, but I'm just washing this thing with this. All right. All right, so let me stop that. Last thing it looks like I did was add a little bit of delay on here, which is super crazy, right? Because I already have a delay on it up here. This may be overkill. It looks like I was using, this kind of filtered dark analog box preset as an extra delay. I may not need it right now. I think there's enough happening with the reverse reverb, the panning, the delay on the track itself. And what's cool about this delay on the track is that delay is being fed into these couple of reverbs. I'm curious to hear just how adding my vocal reverb 1, let's see what this was. It's kind of like a thick, kind of rich, medium length reverb. I'm gonna add that on there too. See how that sounds. All right, a little bit of that won't hurt. All right, and now let's hear all this together with this layered vocal effect brought in. Actually, you know what? Let's start with it muted and just listen without.
I keep hesitating, life it kept going wrong, kept going wrong. Stuck inside this cage I made for way too long, for way too long.
All right, and let's bring in the effects.
I keep hesitating, life it kept going wrong, kept going wrong. Stuck inside this cage I made for way too long, for way too long. Now I'm staring at the starlight, waiting for directions, got in the way. And this life it keep on crashing and I keep collapsing.
All right, so we could turn this down a little bit, put it more behind, a little more in the back. Once you listen to it, you can always go ahead, tweak things, and just make it work with your song.
Wrong, kept going wrong. Stuck inside this cage I made for way too long, for way too long. Now I'm staring at the starlight, waiting for.
Let's hear it with a little more of a high pass.
Wrong, kept going wrong. Stuck inside this cage I made for way too long, for way too long.
All right, so we're just kind of creating some fun vocal layers. This panning plugin, doing that formant shifting, all those things are going to be what adds that trap sound background background vocal layer that we're kind of going for here. So I hope you enjoyed checking this out, and there's a lot to kind of take out of this, and you can use like pieces of this. You can use just a little bit of formant shifting or just the panning effect. Listen to your song and serve your song in the way that makes the most sense. I really hope that you enjoyed learning about that effect, and I can't wait for you to try it out. Definitely let me know how it goes for you in the comments. And I've got to tell you about an amazing free resource that we have for you here at Audio Edges. It's called Ultimate Mixing Tips and Hacks, and it is a free list of some of my juiciest mixing tips that you can use to start getting results in your music right away. So go grab that now. It's at the top of the description, and it's absolutely free. I know you're gonna love it. All right, my friend, thanks again for stopping by. We have so much more on the way, so I will see you next time, and don't forget to subscribe.